So we've learned two things so far. One is that we could implement a method and directly be able to utilize it, such as this, where we implemented action listener. We defined the methods required, and then we were able to say this so that it calls this specific method, action performed. However, the downfall of it was that it became a public method accessible outside, and that was an issue. An issue where we don't want people to call and so forth, so on. The second thing we said was, well, we could create an anonymous class, and that resolved that issue where the method was being called when it shouldn't, but it had some limitations, such as I couldn't reuse that code or be able to use some specific variables or fields and so forth, so on. And same thing, it's not a different solution, but same thing to that anonymous class was we made it into a lambda, which is basically just a method having no names. We could say that as a short for now, right? And in both this anonymous and lambda and the implementation, there are limitations. Come in, the last thing we're going to learn for this specific task is called method referencing. Now, method referencing kind of fixes all these problems that we were having. All it needs to do is to make sure that our method signature matches what's required. So our method signature requires really just an action event to be passed. So let's go ahead and try that out. So we're going to create a method, and this time we're going to make it private so that we don't have that problem. We're going to say void, and let's say we could name it anything we want. So button clicked. Okay. And it's going to require the same method, the same signature. So here in this case, we're going to add the action event, and we could again add a variable, and that's it. Method referencing, all it requires is the same method signature. So all we need to do is to call this specific method. And to be able to do that, we need to say the object or the class name, colon, the method name if it's an object, or the static method name if it's a class. And until it has the correct signature, it should be all fine. So if we come back to this object over here, add action listener, rather than saying this object and for the, let's say the computer to find the matching override and so forth, so on, we could say now, let's change one of these. Well, let's say this one. We could say now this current object, colon, and now you could see an IntelliSense popping up with everything and anything that it has access to, such as all the methods that's possible. So before we utilize the one we created, notice that we have still access to the action performed, right? If I hold control and I click on action performed, it's going to go to this definition. But this is no good. It's public. It has issues for our later programming events, or whatever you want to call it. Notice it's also yellowed out. If we put our mouse over it, replaced with qualifier, well, again, it knows already it's going to call this, so it doesn't really need that specific thing. If we try a different one that doesn't have that correct signature, let's say paint all, that's for sure not going to have the correct signature. We're going to have a compile time error. Incompatible types, action event is not convertible to graphics. So remember, we need to have an action event here. Lastly, if we give it the correct name, which was button clicked, you'll notice no errors is going to happen. And if I run or execute this application, well, right now it's not doing anything. So this was the first button, the submit, nothing's going on. Let's try putting some output here. Method reference click event. Okay, let's run it again. You'll notice that now when I press submit, method reference click event happens. You'll notice that it's private, it's reusable, right? If I go ahead and let's say I'm going to Is this correct one? Yeah. I'm going to grab all of this, copy that, put it in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all three of them just call that method. Right? So now it's calling the same method 3 times for all 3 buttons. We could remove this thing. But it's keeping it private, so it should still work. And this is duplicate code. Okay, we could even go ahead and remove this one just to show you that this button click works. Don't forget, we got to remove our implementation. And now when I run it, notice, so notice the first one says to say hello. We got a hello, and let's put some text in there. Hello Reza, submit. We got hello Reza. So first button works. Second button, left side clicked, and all of them works out fine. And method referencing is so powerful. So now not only did we get our clean code, we also kept it hidden from outsiders. So this encapsulation is working out perfectly for us. Cool. I'll see you guys in another video. Cheers.